Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives For You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In a twist that no one in the Sister Wives universe saw coming, the Brown family has been thrust into its most explosive crisis yet, as whispers that once danced in secret corners have now erupted into a full-blown scandal threatening to collapse the entire foundation of the plural family. Kody Brown's alleged secret marriage. A bombshell so staggering it has sent shockwaves through the entire fandom and triggered an emotional eruption inside the family that many fans feared but never expected to see unravel in such spectacular fashion, and according to multiple insiders who claim to have witnessed the unfolding chaos firsthand, the chain reaction began the moment the whispered rumor leaked into the open. Kody had reportedly taken another woman as a wife without informing his remaining wives, and that revelation, allegedly hidden under layers of secrecy, back-channel communication, and questionable late-night disappearances, has now allegedly pushed 3 wives to storm out, slamming the door not just on their marriage, but on the very idea that the family can ever repair the damage. And while fans have long speculated about Kody's restlessness, his ever-shifting loyalties, and his tendency to seek emotional refuge outside the established marital circle during times of heightened tension, no one expected the rumor mill to be so bold as to suggest that Kody, who has claimed for years that transparency is the glue holding plural families together, would go as far as sealing a secret, completely unapproved marriage behind the backs of the women who shared decades of their lives with him. But as the dust begins to settle and more details drip into the public eye, an alarmingly vivid picture has started to form, one that points to a deeply divided household, full of whispered confrontations, phone calls that went unanswered for days, furious text messages, and Kody allegedly swearing up and down that the rumors were nothing more than a smear campaign designed by bitter outsiders who want to see the family collapse. But even as he reportedly tried to brush away the allegations, his wives, who had already been stretched thin by years of emotional neglect, broken promises, and favoritism, were no longer buying the excuses, with insiders claiming that one wife, allegedly Janelle, discovered a document that appeared to confirm Kody had participated in a symbolic spiritual ceremony with another woman months earlier, a move that he reportedly justified as private spiritual exploration, but which the wives interpreted as blatant betrayal. And once that alleged evidence landed in the hands of the other wives, the emotional shockwaves turned volcanic, pushing the household into a level of tension no one had experienced since the early Flagstaff days, when the family was unraveling under the weight of sudden relocations, financial pressure, and unspoken resentment. But this time the storm was far bigger, because unlike before, the wives reportedly united in their outrage instead of splintering into silent corners, forming a rare moment of solidarity as they confronted Kody in a fiery late-night showdown that sources say ended with screaming, accusations, slammed doors, and one wife reportedly shouting, "You betrayed all of us. You lied to every single one of us." And while Kody allegedly insisted that nothing about the ceremony was legal and therefore doesn't count, the wives reportedly told him that the legality was irrelevant because secrecy, especially secrecy of this magnitude, was the ultimate violation of trust. And following the explosive confrontation, the emotional fallout spread rapidly, with 3 wives allegedly packing overnight bags, grabbing personal belongings, and walking out in a fury that left the rest of the family reeling. And while the show has documented breakups before, this alleged walkout was described as fundamentally different. It wasn't a slow fade, a gradual emotional withdrawal, or the kind of simmering, quiet resentment that built up over seasons. This was immediate, dramatic, and fueled by the sense that Kody's supposed quest for a more spiritually aligned partner had crossed a line even he couldn't downplay. And fans who have followed the family for years will remember how past conflicts usually simmered with passive-aggressive tension. But this blow-up, according to insiders, was full-scale emotional warfare, something that had been building beneath the surface for months as the wives reportedly sensed Kody becoming more distant, less engaged, and increasingly secretive about his whereabouts, with one source claiming he had been disappearing on work trips that never lined up with his usual travel patterns, and another alleging that he had been frequently spotted meeting a mystery woman at a Flagstaff restaurant, though fans initially dismissed the claims as exaggerated gossip, until now, when the pieces seem to be falling into a narrative that even the most loyal viewers are struggling to deny, and the wives' reported walkout has now thrown the entire Brown family into logistical chaos as well, with children confused, communication lines allegedly shutting down, and Kody left insisting that the entire story has been blown out of proportion. Yet the rumors swirling through social media suggest the wives aren't buying the damage control and may already be in contact with lawyers to discuss next steps. And what makes this twist even more jaw-dropping is the identity of the rumored secret wife. Speculation points to a woman who allegedly attended a few of the family's public events over the years, quietly lingering on the edges without attracting attention. Someone reportedly described as soft-spoken but extremely devoted to plural marriage principles, and if the rumors prove true, it appears she and Kody may have been in contact far longer than anyone realized, perhaps even during the filming of later seasons, and the secrecy behind the alleged ceremony has fans and insiders alike questioning whether Kody has been orchestrating a personal reinvention behind closed doors, attempting to rebuild the early days of his plural marriage life when excitement, spiritual passion, and the idea of expanding the family were central to his identity. And now the wives, 3 of whom allegedly walked out in the aftermath, are reportedly devastated, not because Kody met someone, but because he hid it, manipulated the truth, and violated the core principle they say they held on to even through the darkest years: honesty. But now with that trust allegedly shattered beyond recognition, the wives are said to be refusing any reconciliation talks until Kody admits what happened and explains why he thought he could make a decision of such monumental emotional impact without so much as a discussion. And while Kody reportedly maintains that the spiritual ceremony was symbolic, personal, and private, the wives argue that marriage, spiritual or otherwise, is never private when you are in a plural family, because every choice affects every wife, every child, every dynamic, and every relationship, and fans are now dissecting old footage, rewatching scenes from the most recent season, searching for hints that Kody might have been mentally checking out long before this scandal erupted, with some viewers pointing to confessionals where he appeared distracted, evasive, or cagey about the future, while others have dug up clips where the wives hinted that Kody was withholding key parts of his emotional life from them. And while the rumor mill continues to spin with speculation, one thing is clear: the Brown family as fans once knew it may no longer exist, because according to insiders, the 3 wives who walked out are done, emotionally exhausted, and unwilling to keep investing in a marriage that no longer aligns with what they believe their family was fighting for. And though Kody allegedly hopes to repair what has been misunderstood, the wives are said to be seeing the situation with painful clarity. This wasn't a misunderstanding but a deliberate, premeditated act of secrecy. And now the fallout is bigger than any marital conflict the family has documented on camera, pushing the narrative into uncharted territory where loyalty has been replaced by betrayal, unity shattered by unilateral decision-making, and the once famous ideal of plural marriage exposed as fragile, fractured, and perhaps irreversibly broken. And with fans now demanding answers, the network reportedly scrambling to determine how to handle the unfolding drama, and Kody attempting to regain control of a story that seems to be slipping further from his grasp by the hour, the world watches with breathless anticipation, wondering whether the wives will return, whether the alleged secret wife will step forward, and whether this shocking twist marks the final unraveling of the Brown family or the beginning of a completely new era, one defined not by unity but by the wreckage of secrets, betrayal, and the irreversible consequences of one man's decision to step outside the boundaries of trust and transparency that once held his family together. And just when it seemed the situation couldn't spiral any further out of control, new whispers began circulating that the wives who walked out weren't just leaving in protest. They were allegedly preparing to release their own accounts of what happened, something that insiders say has Kody in full-blown panic mode because for years he has relied on carefully crafted narratives, confessional control, and his own ability to justify choices with emotional persuasion. But this time, the wives reportedly aren't holding back, and they're ready to paint a picture of a husband who crossed a line so severe that reconciliation might not even be on the table, and one insider described the mood among the wives as heartbroken, furious, and strangely liberated, noting that for the first time in a long time, they felt like they were united not by shared pain but by shared clarity. Because if Kody did indeed enter into a secret spiritual marriage, it didn't just break their trust, it proved that the family unity they had been fighting for no longer existed in reality, only in Kody's nostalgic fantasies. And the more the wives talked among themselves in the aftermath of the confrontation, the more they realized how many inconsistencies they had each individually noticed in Kody's behavior: sudden changes in his routine, random disappearances under the excuse of urgent business, an unusual number of late-night phone calls that he would abruptly silence when one of the wives entered the room, and even cryptic comments about feeling spiritually misunderstood, as though he were preparing the emotional foundation for a major shift he never intended to discuss with anyone else. And these puzzle pieces have now allegedly formed a narrative that makes far too much sense in hindsight, leaving the wives not just hurt but deeply humiliated that they missed the signs, especially given their years of experience navigating the emotional labyrinth of plural marriage. But betrayal hits differently when it's intentional, calculated, and wrapped in a veil of secrecy, and that is what they reportedly can't forgive. Because while the wives have endured emotional neglect, favoritism, and endless conflict in the past, this latest move feels like a final declaration that their emotional presence in the family no longer mattered to Kody, who allegedly justified his actions by claiming that he was following spiritual direction, a phrase that the wives now reportedly mock bitterly among themselves as nothing more than an excuse crafted to hide the fact that he was pursuing a new romantic connection behind their backs. And insiders also claim that one wife, rumored to be Christine, told a close friend that this situation wasn't just about betrayal but about the casual cruelty of being replaced without warning, without discussion, and without acknowledgement. And this sentiment has reportedly echoed through the hearts of all three wives who left, creating a sense of collective devastation that even the children are picking up on, with some sources saying a few of the older kids have confronted their father as well, demanding to know why he would jeopardize what little was left of the family unity after all the fractures of the past few years. And while Kody has allegedly tried to reassure them that they're misunderstanding everything, the kids aren't buying it, because they too had noticed the subtle changes, the distracted conversations, the sudden emotional distance, the short temper, and the constant defensiveness whenever anyone asked where he had been or who he was talking to. And now that the alleged secret marriage has been exposed, all those earlier red flags have fallen into place like a painful, unavoidable truth, and the family is reportedly scrambling to process the emotional fallout as tensions escalate faster than anyone expected. With producers allegedly pushing for emergency interviews, the network debating whether to fast-track a special episode, and fans flooding social media with theories, outrage, and demands to know if the mystery woman will finally be revealed. But what's even more shocking is that insiders claim the secret wife might already be preparing to step into the public eye, not to apologize or defend herself, but to establish her own narrative before she becomes the most infamous woman in the Sister Wives universe. And this potential reveal is said to be the last straw for the wives who left, because if the woman they consider the catalyst for the destruction of their marriages suddenly becomes a central figure in Kody's life, they know there is no path back, not emotionally, not spiritually, and certainly not publicly. And that is why they are reportedly preparing for the possibility that this is the official end of the Brown family as viewers have known it for over a decade. Because once the wives walked out and the truth behind the alleged secret wedding began spilling into the open,